I want to talk today about people that learn all kinds of therapy stuff and then they just weaponize it. And so I'm going to call it weaponized therapy speak. Sometimes we have people who come to our program, and what you quickly realize is they're not there because they want to change. They're there because there's a crisis at home and they've been threatened if you don't smarten up, you're out of the relationship. So they're going to kind of make some surface changes to get through the crisis, but they don't really want to change. And then you get some who are just a narcissist and they're never going to change. But what they do in going through the program is they're learning all of this information. They're learning all about how they work, how people work, why people act in the way that they do. And then they go back to their relationship and they use all that information against their partner, to manipulate their partner, to gaslight their partner, to control their partner. And it's really a form of abuse. So that's such a sad thing when I see it. I know it happens. It happens, sadly, more often than we'd like to admit, but it does happen. So understand this. When I'm in my relationship with my wife, let's say that I'm pouting one day. Now, my wife can come to me and she can use therapy language and say, can you tell me what's going on? Help me understand. And so I explain. Now, she's using therapy speak, not to control me, but to provide clarity, to help process. Because as I explained, she might go, oh yeah, I'm part of this, and maybe that's some of your stuff here. And we figure out together how to resolve it, to recreate connection. And so it's all designed to bring about growth, safety, connection, but both of us are open to it. What happens with the narcissist is they're using therapy to control you, to get you to act the way they want. That creates confusion in you. It creates self-doubt in you about your own gut, about your own thinking. It's all part of gaslighting. And it's so damaging. And so just let me say up front, to watch out for, if somebody is using lots of therapy language, but their actions aren't matching. That's the key thing. So they are using all kinds of therapy language, but they're not changing. They're not owning their part. They're always using the language to put the blame on somebody else. That's huge. And then if they're using tons of therapy language, but you're not seeing them change over time, you go, something's not adding up here. And then if they're using all of this therapy language, but yet they don't treat you with respect, the same respect they want you to treat them with, and they're trying to manipulate and control you through that language instead of working on themselves, then you've got a misuse of that language. And then if every time you talk to them, you feel more confused, you feel less grounded, that should be a warning sign too. So let me give you some of the ways that, I'm just going to say a narcissist, but others can misuse therapy language. So weaponize it and use it for all the wrong reasons. So one of the things that they will do is they will take the concept of boundaries and they will turn it into a way to try to control you. So basically what they're doing is they want to allow themselves to be unhealthy, and they want to prevent you from giving them healthy responses to them. So they're doing something unhealthy. They're pouting, they're manipulating, they're having a temper tantrum, and you confront them on that. And they go, I'm setting a boundary with you. You're not allowed to question me. Or this conversation is violating my boundaries. So basically, they're using boundaries, the exact opposite of how boundaries should be. They're using it to control you from doing healthy responses. They're using it to allow themselves to do unhealthy responses. That is a misuse of boundaries. But they can make it sound so therapeutically right because I'm setting boundaries. I am protecting myself from you because you're unsafe right now. I will not tolerate this. But what they're saying is, I won't tolerate healthy responses. You have to tolerate unhealthy behavior in me. So that's a common one. Second one is they label reactions that you might have as, oh, that's toxic. So let's say that they lie to you and then you get angry and they go, they frame it. Oh, see, you're unhealthy. You're getting so angry. That's toxic. I don't feel safe with you. Or, you know what? You're just being triggered. That must be something from your past. That can't be what happened now. That's something from your past that's being triggered. So this is your trauma talking. This isn't nothing to do with what's happening today. And so they're basically saying, if you respond strongly to something unhealthy that I do, you're the unhealthy one. And I don't feel safe with you because you're responding strongly to me being unhealthy. Again, it's a major twist. The third thing is they use therapy speak and clinical terms to basically gaslight you. And so gaslighting is you doubt your own perception, you doubt your own intuition. And so they might say, if you confront them and say, hey, you're favoring one child over the other, or you're spending way too much time with that lady from work and texting her all the time, I don't think that's appropriate. And then they go, you're trying to control me. You're trying to gaslight me. And basically, they start to say, I don't think you got all the facts right. Every time you disagree with me, you are trying to control me. You are gaslighting me to get me to doubt myself. So here's what I want you to see. They're accusing you of gaslighting them, but really they're trying to gaslight you. They're trying to get you to then question, oh, maybe I am seeing this wrong. Maybe I am jumping to conclusions. So they're using that powerful gaslighting term now as a weapon every time you call them on their stuff. They now say, you're gaslighting me. Or they say you're projecting. So, oh, you must be cheating on me because you're accusing me of maybe cheating on you. Oh, I bet you're projecting. And so that becomes, again, a weaponization of terms, clinical terms, to get you to be confused, to doubt yourself. And that basically gets you to back off and let them keep doing what they're doing. The next one is they will hide behind self-care. So self-care is such an important concept within trauma therapy. You have to learn to meet your 12 needs, to take care of yourself. But people that weaponize therapy speak will take that term self-care and begin to use it as a way to do whatever they want, and you can't hold me accountable. A way to avoid responsibility, a way to be unhealthy, engage in unhealthy behaviors, a way to avoid connection and just be totally isolated, and you can't do a thing about it. So they justify selfish or harmful behaviors as wellness, as self-care. So I need to protect my energy. That's why I didn't do all the responsibilities today. Or I'm choosing peace. That's why I avoided dealing with the problems that I should deal with. Such a common thing for so many people who weaponize therapy speak. And then they weaponize healing language to avoid repair. So they sound like they're wanting to grow, but they're avoiding the actual action. So they're saying the right words, but not doing them. So they might say, yes, I'm struggling, but I'm doing the work. I'm on a healing journey. And I know on this journey, it's slow and messy and you have setbacks. And that's all this is a setback. And so it sounds like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But really, they're just making excuses for not growing at all. So they're calling this a setback, but they haven't even really tried. They haven't even attempted to grow. They haven't grown at all, and so there's not a setback. Or they say, I don't need to talk about this because I've grown past this. I don't need to go back and look at this because I've grown past this. I've healed. And so again, they use the language to avoid the work, to bypass. And that becomes a common thing that many do. So the right words are said that sound so good, but they're avoiding action. They're avoiding behavior change, accountability, repairing harm. And then a very subtle one, but important to understand, is that many people that use weaponized therapy speak still have deep, deep shame issues. They've never dealt with their shame. And so what is happening as they get all this language is it now makes them feel morally superior to you or just superior to you. Because now I know as much as you, or I know more than you. So now I can use this therapy knowledge to create a hierarchy again, that I'm smarter than you, I know more than you, I've taken more courses than you. And so they're positioning themselves as smarter and wiser than you, as superior to you. So now they talk down to you as if they're more evolved, as if they're more aware. And so I've done the inner work, you haven't. So who are you to speak to me? You're not emotionally intelligent enough yet to understand what I'm going through. So again, it's their shame positioning themselves as superior and using language to try to establish the hierarchy again. Then the next thing they do is they use therapy language to create these pseudo-communication frameworks. And what it really is they are trying to develop a framework in the relationship where they talk and you have to listen. They don't have to listen when you talk. And so it's pseudo-communication. And so they demand safe conversations where they can say whatever they want and express their feelings, but you can't do the same. They spend a lot of time talking about, I need to be able to express I feel statements, but those really are, I blame you. I feel because you did this, you did this, you did this, and they start, or I feel disrespected when you don't do what I want you to, when you don't do what I need. They use the right language, but what they're really saying is, you're not letting me be the narcissist. And so I'm upset about that. And so I'm expressing to you that you are the problem and you need to change. So they're using all of the right, I feel, we need to have open communication, but it's them just mimicking therapy formats where they control the narrative, where they are the only one that gets to present their point of view. And you, if you try to refute it, get shot down, that you're not respecting me, you're not listening to me. And so it's a subtle form of control that they use. And then another thing they do is they often take this whole shame concept and they misuse it. So every time you confront them, you're shaming me. No, you're confronting something so that they will get back to healthy behavior. They'll get back to love. You're not doing it in a judgmental way. You're pointing it out, wanting them to resolve it, wanting them to explore it, wanting them to see where the change is needed. But they just say, you're shaming me. What is really saying, I don't ever need to change. I'm not going to change. Any attempt that you have to point stuff out, I will now twist to say, you're shaming me. And that then they can go into, you're attacking me, you're emotionally abusing me, you're not holding space for me, you're not accepting me. And so again, all of this is allowing themselves to remain a victim. And any time you try to expose that, they use the language to basically refute you, shut you down so they can remain a victim. Then they take the word empathy and misuse that. And so again, empathy is one way only. They want lots of empathy. So it's almost a demand that you have to show me empathy, but it's not a shared process where I will show you empathy. Or they become very, I need to have self-empathy. So you got to show me empathy. I need self-empathy. I need empathy all the time, which basically is people just need to let me do whatever I want and feel good about me, feel sorry for me. Nobody needs to confront me or hold me accountable. And I don't need to respond to other people's pain, especially if I've caused it. So I expect you to deeply understand my pain, but I'm not going to try to understand your pain. So that's another thing they do. Then the final one I want to mention is many people that weaponized therapy speak are extremely smart. They're in their head. And so they get tons of insights because they think about it. And then what they basically try to do is convince you that because they get so many insights, that means they're changing. And so what they're basically saying is recovery is just an academic journey. The more insights you get, the farther along the journey you are. They don't feel any need to change behavior, to connect to emotions, to connect to their body. It's all about insights. And so they can come to you and go, wow, I just realized I got all kinds of attachment wounds, or I'm starting to understand some of my shame patterns, some of my attachment style stuff. Wow, this is huge insight for me, but then they don't change anything. Their behaviors keep on repeating themselves. But in their mind, they think they're growing tremendously. So if you're in a relationship like this and you've got somebody that's weaponizing, basically you're back into a gaslighting relationship. And that leads to some very important decisions for you as to how you're going to respond to that. Because in the extreme case, if they're weaponizing therapy speak, they're totally unwilling to change. They're not going to change. They are using every tactic they can think of to control you, manipulate you, get you to think you're the one that needs to do all the changing. That is a relationship that is impossible to be healthy. And so you then have to decide whether you leave it, whether you make a stand. That's your decision. And we've done other videos on that. So I hope this helps you just to get some clarity about this weaponizing of therapy speak and what might be happening in your life. If it was helpful, please like, subscribe, share, make a comment. It really helps. Have a great day.